I'm Fred Davidson. I'm president and CEO of Impact Silver Corp. It's somewhat unique. It's probably the purest silver play listed on the TSX right now, with over 90% of its revenues sourced strictly from silver. Standard disclosure document. I'm sure you're all sophisticated and you understand it, so I won't spend too much time on it. Why are we in Mexico? And quite frankly, it's the top of the chart when it comes to production of silver. And it's also very near the top of the chart in Latin America for production of other metals. It's the largest producer of silver, in fact. We find that your mineral title is assured. The other side is, what was briefly talked about in one of the other presentations, ESG. And in Mexico, they understand mining. In fact, the local church has a statue of a miner out in front rather than the Madonna. So they understand we're a significant producer in the local community. And 99% of our staff is Mexican, and the 1% are basically geologists do 43-101 studies for us. And the other thing is the company is able to obtain necessary supplies relatively easy from both the United States and Mexico. This is our 15th year that we first started production. We've produced 11 million ounces to date. But you have to understand, this property itself was producing back with Cortez when he first conquered Mexico in 1521. In fact, the earliest mine on our property is 1527. And our biggest producer right now, our biggest source of production right now, is 1529. So it's got a long history. We've located over 5,000 old mine workings on the property to date. We've located 42 historic mills, haciendas as they're called, some Spanish era. What's happened to the silver production? Well, we do have a different attitude towards it. We were upping our production to about 2016. We were going to break the 1 million ounces of silver, not equivalent, but pure silver. And we ran into the problem everybody else did. The price of silver dropped. So we have set an attitude that a mine has to actually make money, not just produce silver. And we cut back that production to produce from those areas where we get the highest margin. Not even necessarily the highest grade, but the highest margin to the bottom line. And as a result, from about 2018 on, we've had positive cash flow from the mining operation. And in 2020, we generated 2 cents a share earnings. We're located in the southern portion of the epithermal silver belt, and our next door neighbor is the very famous mine, Tasco, who was the first mine in Mexico. We were the second. The advantage of being a pure silver play is demonstrated, for instance, March 2nd to July in 2020, where when the price of silver went up 37%, our price went up 149%. So we're very leveraged to silver. We are a higher cost producer, so when the price of silver moves up beyond a certain point, it goes right to the bottom line for us. And it's fairly dramatic in terms of our price of the stock. Again, as I said, we're in the lower part of that Mexican epithermal belt. We own 211 square kilometers here. It's well serviced with power, and it's only a 3.5-hour drive from Mexico City. The general area is described as the Zacualpan district and the Capiri-Matla district. And we have a mill up at the Guadalupe Production Center, and it sources from the epithermal veins in the area immediately surrounding it. We have another mill down in the very south called Capiri. It was a pilot plant that's designed to test feeds in the local area, and including one in specifically Capiri, an open pit. The stock has been trading all over the place in the last while. The 52-week range has been between 51 and $1.25. We currently have about 143 million shares outstanding. and about 161 fully diluted. Market capitalization is under $100 million, and cash in the bank is about $22 million. Debt, none. Share ownership, 70% is retail, 20% is institutional, and 10% insiders and management. You can see this trend, as I mentioned, in 2018, we were negative in terms of the mine level, we call it EBITDA. This excludes the being a public company cost. That turnaround result next year in a $1.3 million profit or positive EBITDA. 0.87 next year, 146 in the last quarter of 2020, and overall $2.70 for 2020. First quarter of 2021 was 260. We're currently producing from 4 mines in the district. Guadalupe, that very historic mine, it now represents 48% of our feed. A small little open pit, which is high grade, but very, very low cost, and looks like it extends to depth. San Ramon, which has been in production since 2004, and Cuchero, which is basically a corridor of veins running higher, lower grades, widths, etc. I give you an example of some of the old mills. That's on the right-hand side, and the current mills we have are on the left-hand side, and we'll explore those very briefly. The team, this is the 4th mine I put into production. We've got George Grzinski, Jerry Wong, Amarndo. We've all got a long history in what we're doing. We are excited about this, and we're putting a lot of effort into it. Back to that map again. Area 1 is, in fact, the brownfields area. Area 2 is very early stage. The reason those red lines are supposed to be veins, the reason there's no veins showing there is we haven't even got there. This is a massive property. Area 3 is an area where there's an interface between the epithermal and volcanogenic massive sulfides, and it's an area that we'll be talking about a little more. And Area 4 is a deeply incised valley, Valle de Oro, yes, Valley of Gold. That wasn't named by us, and we're following up some early leads that look quite exciting. Let's go to Area 1. The Guadalupe mine is in that circle to the north. There's a major structure running north-south here, and you can see these are all old mines that we indicate. You get to the south, you get into one called Alacran. Now, Guadalupe is, as I say, one of our major producers. Alacran is quite exciting, and this is the reason why. These are 2 reports. Excuse me. One in 1920 and another one in 1921 by 2 independent geologists writing in the Mines and Scientific Press. It gets us a little excited. Ores carrying 20 to 60 kilograms of silver per metric ton. The wall rock is enriched, unenriched spaces rather, between the ore bodies, usually assay 40 to 50 grams. Another report basically saying ore is running at 35 kilos per ton, and the low-grade material, the 10 kilo per ton, is being sent to the Corchera mill. Really quite exciting. And what makes this even more interesting is the mining was stopped not shortly after, or rather shortly after, for political and economic reasons. Area 2 is near Tasco. You can see one of the old mines and old workings in this. It's an area I say we're going to get to, but we just haven't spent the time and effort because we have limited resources and primarily people. Area 3 is the Capire. Capire we drilled off and came up with a resource. Well, the current prices, it's now about 5 million ounces of silver and about an equivalent in lead and zinc in terms of, I hesitate to use the word silver equivalents. There's a 200 ton a day plant you can see there. It's been stripped, it was test mined. We found that the costs were fairly high. They're profitable at this point in time, but we want to improve the margins. And right now we're doing a study on ore sorting using XRT, which should be able to upgrade the material by about 30%. Secondly, we've had access to airborne data. There was almost $2 million worth of it. We've just done an interpretation and it's identified over 18 targets in the immediate vicinity. Area 4 is that valley. Now it comes up the side of the hill again, and this is just an example of one of these properties. What we're finding is there's a silver, lead, zinc district overlying a copper gold district, and with the open pit, not the open pit, with the valley, it's exposed the copper gold, and this is one of the transitional zones. It's an old mine in the area. We sampled the surface outcrop. Best result was 97 grams gold and 98 grams silver over a true width of 0.8. Not bad. And if it was the only one in the area, it'd be interesting. We've actually found multiple veins in the area which have seen copper, gold, and silver. And it's going to be our sort of greenfields exploration going forward. Why is a little frustrating? Well, regarded strictly as a miner, but even as a miner, based on our market capitalization, and the market capitalization here is somewhat optimistic on today's price, we have, first of all, working capital well in excess of a lot of our comparables. But even more so, we're profitable. And that makes us somewhat unique in the business. And it's one of the things I think people have to recognize. Deposits can be found, mines have to be made, and it's a whole different type of transaction than just finding them. This is what I mean by that example. This is a Howard Engineering did a study on that XRT. Interesting area. I think it's becoming more involved in what people are doing today. But what makes us a little unique is we've spent a number of years compiling old mines and prospects right back to the Spanish era. That allows us to accelerate our work and accelerate our discovery work. We have our own drills, so we can drill them when we want without having to wait for a drilling contractor. And the mine development, we've been exceptionally good at it. We're well recognized with the Mexican government. Permitting has never been an issue. And that takes us to mine production and cash flow relatively quickly. We're looking at Capire adding in the area between 250, 350,000 ounces of silver, and the equivalent again in byproduct, such as lead, zinc, copper, and gold, as we go forward to its production phase. So what we have is we're the purest play in silver right now. We've had stable production over almost 15 years. We're profitable. We've had exciting new early stage prospects like the Chapanyel with 97.5 grams gold. We've got near-term development of bringing the Capire into production. And we have hundreds, literally hundreds of epithermal vein targets, 5,000 old workings, and 42 old haciendas we've yet to follow up. So as a company, as a entity, we see that the future of mining in Mexico is secure. We think that with the money we have on hand, we can achieve all of that. And with the technical and resources we have, the only issue we've got is we will be constrained in exploring all of the exploration potential on the upside. And hopefully over the next little while, we'll fill in that gap to the south and east, but we still have to explore all of the aspects of Villa de Oro over the next 2 years.